Welcome to our new monthly special on the Bear Archery podcast, Train Wild, presented by our good friends over at Mountain Tough. Guys, I have wanted to start a training special for so long. I share why on this podcast, but I've met a gentleman well up in age. I'm going to guess about 80. He's a legendary bow hunter. He was inducted in Archery Hall of Fame, Pope and Young Hall of Fame, personal friends with Fred Bear, just a legendary bow hunter. And he equates being able to hunt that long and that far up in age because of resistance training. And so ever since I've met that guy and started being his friend, I've wanted to start a training special, just encouraging people to live a happy, healthier lifestyle. So this series, and we're going to dive more into what this series is going to look like in the episode, but this series, every month, we're going to bring you something different. We might talk about different programs. We might talk about conditioning. We might talk about strength training. We might talk about diet. We might talk about supplementation. We might talk about mobility, stretching, rehabbing injuries. We're going to cover anything and everything that you need to know and you need to learn to help you live a longer, healthier, happier lifestyle and keep you in the woods and on the mountain longer. I've got some incredible guests lined up for this. I'm actually going to go to some incredible places, go through some incredible workouts with some incredible people, and teach you how to train wild. Guys, I'm such a believer in the Train Wild app that I've teamed up with them to be the title sponsor of this series and to give you not only a free test run of the app, but also if you use discount code TrainWild30, that's going to give you 30% off of an annual subscription to the app. So guys, I would highly encourage you to check it out. We're also going to talk about a massive elk hunt giveaway that myself, Mountain Tough, and Bear Archery have put together. A fully guided elk hunt, completely free to enter, completely free to go on. We're going to cover all your tags and licenses. So make sure and stay tuned right here to hear how to enter to win that. But guys, thank you for joining us for the first ever Train Wild episode, where we're just going to dive into the why behind this series and what you can expect to hear and learn from in this series. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Stay right here tuned in for the first ever monthly special of Train Wild.
With over 90 years of innovation, Bear Archery continues pushing toward the goal of founder Fred Bear, making archery accessible for all. Fred believed the history of the bow and arrow were the history of mankind, and everyone should immerse themselves in the outdoor experience. Welcome to the Bear Archery Podcast, where the mission is simple: to hunt, grow, and inspire others.
Guys, I'm not a gun guy. You're listening to the Bear Archery Podcast. I'm a bow hunter. I enjoy archery. However, guns are a necessity for outdoorsmen. I need an everyday carry pistol. I need a shotgun to shoot birds with. I need a truck gun. I need a gun to shoot coyotes with. I need a lightweight gun to pack in the mountains if I'm on a bear hunt and need backup. There are times where I need a gun. And I am the type of guy, like I said, I don't study guns. I don't know a lot about guns. So when I'm in need of a gun, I just call somebody. My favorite place on earth has become Powder and String Outfitters in Wellington, Kansas. I love the creaky old floor, the rustic decor, the fact that they just take you back to a time where Main Street shops were experts in their trade. It's one of the best feelings walking into that place because you feel like you're walking back in time. Powder and String Outfitters has just launched an online website where you can shop the largest selection of in-stock guns and ammo that you will find anywhere, and the best prices guaranteed. Powderandstring.com. Guys, here's my favorite part. Call them. Ask them questions. Ask them, tell them what you're looking for in a gun, what you want to get out of it, what you want to use it for, and they're going to point you in the right direction. How do I know that? Because I have to do that every time I need a new gun. So guys, Go to powderandstring.com for your next gun, for your ammo, for your clips, for all of your hunting accessories, trail cameras, tree stands. They've got it all. They've got archery equipment too, but they are my gun experts that I trust, that I go to all of the time when I've got questions about guns. Powderandstring.com. Go check them out. You can shop online. You can figure it all out. The guns will ship straight to your house. It's an incredibly easy process to go through. Guys, they've got everything you could ever need. Powderandstring.com. All right, Weston. So before we jump into this, which I'm so excited, Bear Archery has partnered with Mountain Tough to bring you guys a Train Wild series. It was highly requested. We do our Cook Wild series, which is once a month. We take wild game and then we teach you how to make stuff out of that wild game. And it was highly asked about. Why don't we do a Train Wild series where you guys talk about training and how to stay fit, how to stay active, how to be more prepared for the mountain? And so I am glad to finally start this series, Train Wild. We've partnered with you guys at Mountain Tough. After one conversation with you guys, I just knew this had to happen. You guys' Christian values align with mine. Mountain Tough is Christian owned, Christian operated. You guys are changing lives daily with your app and your different programs. And so I just knew this was a necessity. So I just wanted to do this episode to kind of introduce people to Train Wild. Many of you might have already heard about the massive giveaway that launched today. So stay tuned in the episode and we'll give you more details on that giveaway here in just a little bit. But we are giving away a massive fully guided elk hunt, and we're going to pay all your expenses. So we'll dive more into that here in just a little bit. But Weston, man, give us an introduction to yourself. Give us an introduction to Mountain Tough and what all you guys do.
Yeah, thank you, Dylan. It's been awesome to get to know you over the last bit as well. It's just amazing how this world works too. We're on the social medias and all that stuff, but it's wonderful to be able to connect with people and make it that easy to connect with those individuals. And we're really fortunate to be able to do that. So I can't remember if you reached out to me or I reached out to you, but I was like, hey, we quickly hit it off to when it comes to the hunting realm, when it comes to the fitness realm, all of that. And then, on the wild game topic, we could talk about that at length as well. Yeah. So, but yeah, I'm Weston Paul. I'm the director of business development over at Mountain Tough Fitness Lab. We are a fitness app. We are focused on initially the backcountry hunter, but over the years, our offerings have expanded. And so we've moved into general hunting, aspirational mountain athletes, the special operations actually groups are loving our style of training. And so it's just opened up this whole new realm of being able to meet people where they're at. So when it comes to fitness, and hunting, like it goes hand in hand. Honestly, like the backcountry hunt, that's pretty aspirational, but for anybody to go out in the field and feel good and move well, we want to do that for a very, very long time. That longevity piece is really important to us at Mountain Tough. We want to be able to set people up so they can experience this for as long as possible, because us as hunters, like we don't want to give it up. Like we do not want to give it up. So something that we can do for ourselves is maintain that level of fitness so that we can continue to go and enjoy what God's created. So the fitness app overall, like that's what we're committed to, but, and I'm just the business guy. So I just love to have conversations and meet people and network and expand the reach, honestly. So just connect with people where they're at.
Yeah. Now there's kind of two reasons why this series is so passionate, why I'm so passionate about this series. So I met a gentleman inside, and he's just an absolute legendary bow hunter. His name is Harv Ebers. I'm going to guess, and I can guess this without making him mad because he's never going to listen to this. Yeah. I'm going to guess when I met him, he was probably 80 years old. But he's just an absolute legend. One of the founding members of Pope and Young, personal good friends of Fred Bear. I mean, he's hunted and killed world records. He's went all over the world killing animals with his recurves and just legendary. So I met Harv. I was supposed to do a video series for Pope and Young. So I went out to his house and started doing a video series. And Then he started teaching me how to shoot a recurve. And so that's kind of where I got my foot in the door with shooting a recurve. But I remember asking him, like right when I met him, I remember saying like, well, so do you still get to hunt? And, he's 80 years old. A lot of people don't get to hunt when they're that old.
Yeah.
And he said, dude, like kind of smirked and he said, shot a doe last night. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And I said, and I was just kind of asking him, just kind of picking his brain throughout the day. And of course I was asking him tons of questions about shooting recurves, but I started asking him questions kind of about that longevity piece and kind of how do you continue to be able to hunt? Like my dad is only 60 years old and he can't pull a bow back anymore. Still rifle hunts a ton, but can't pull a bow back anymore. He was a college wrestler and just tore his shoulders up and, didn't take care of his body in that aspect. He was very athletic, but just, your shoulders get abused in the wrestling game. And so he can no longer pull a bow back. And so I was just like kind of sharing that with him and like, dude, I want to be able to bow hunt when I'm 80. So what do you equate this to? And he kind of looked around his basement and there were some little weights laying around, some little dumbbells and some, maybe a couple kettlebells and like an easy curl bar. And, he said, well, looked around. He said, you see the weights? I still resistance train every day. And I was like, really? And he said, yeah. And, he started talking about how, it might not be what I used to do. I might not be, deadlifting a ton of weight or squatting or bench pressing. He said, but I keep my muscles and my body active and I resistance train every day still. And that's what I equate being able to hunt this long to. And I was just like, dude. So ever since then, I've had these wheels turning about wanting to start a series, just encourage. And that was 3 years ago, which is embarrassing to say that it's taken me that long to start it. But ever since then, the wheels have been turning about just encouraging people to stay healthy, to stay active, to stay fit, to be able to hunt well into their 80s, to, just to live a lifestyle that's going to further them on the mountain. And so that was what kind of started driving me to start this series. And, I thought about a lot of different things. I'm like, I want to call it Hunt Like Harv and, just some different things. But I remember calling him and telling him, hey, I'm going to start a series, encouraging people to live healthier lives, encouraging people to start training, encouraging people to take care of their bodies, encouraging people, all of these things. And I said, and it's kind of to honor you. Like, I want this to be something that honors you and the life that you've built and the hunting that you've been able to do. He was just inducted last year into Pope and Young's Hall of Fame. He was inducted the year before that into Archery Hall of Fame. So there's nothing I can do that, to honor him that hasn't been done. But this right here is so that I can be more like Harv, so that I can hunt well into my 80s, so that I can continue doing what I love for the rest of my life. So I'm excited to have Mountain Tough on board. It's the perfect partner for me to do this series with. And so I hate your programs. They kick my butt. But what are you going to do? I'm not a cardio guy, man. I don't like breathing heavy. And your programs here are kind of killing me.
We're prepping you for the mountain. It's just baked into our DNA. It's our methodology. It's very, very interesting when it comes to that like inspirational side. Harv, like I don't know him, but I want to know him. And for me personally, I want to be that individual who is still going and blowing people's minds. But there's a system that works for those types of individuals. Cause I've got the same in my network. My buddy Tom is late 70s and he's an absolute legend that no one knows about. Like he'll often go in like peak rut and he won't even carry a bow. He just talks to elk and he loves just studying elk and he loves the mountains and he loves being out there, and people look at him like he's crazy, but he doesn't have to always kill something, but he just loves being out there. He goes to the top of the peaks. It's funny. There's stories out there of Tom and people just like running into him. And I'm like, oh yeah, he is one of those legendary individuals and he moves through the mountains so well, but there's a system that he has in place in that resistance style. Out west here, for us personally at Mountain Tough, that cardio is always naturally baked into it because we know that it is an important component. It isn't everything though. So early on in the very early days of Mountain Tough, Dustin Diefendorfer is the CEO of Mountain Tough. He started it in 2016 and he just wanted to train backcountry hunters because he saw a gap. He said, no one's training them like you would train an NFL offensive lineman or a defensive, like no one's training them specifically. And Dustin and myself actually were big in the trail running scene. That's how I met him. It was pretty crazy. I was running and I ran up to a guy and he had an elkhorn on his t-shirt, like a race t-shirt from an elkhorn endurance race. And naturally I was like, I'll bet you this guy's a hunter, and struck up a conversation. We were friends from that point on. But when he went on this journey to actually train backcountry hunters, it was because he'd go in the mountains after running and then he'd find out that he was gassed. Like he had run like all season long and then got in the mountains and put a backpack on and was gassed. And so it's like, well, what's up with that? It's not all cardio. It can't all be cardio. We're not training specifically for a mountain hunt by doing all cardio all the time. So that blend and having some strength component in it is really what makes or is helpful to being a successful backcountry hunter. And it's really important to have that blend. And so Mountain Tough programming has that sort of style where we are going to make you breathe heavy. And a good thing to think about is like, what if you had to make that move on a bull elk that was just over a roller, and you let's say it's 50 yards. Do a 50-yard sprint with a 30-pound backpack on and try to make it so you could set up and make a shot, because the thermals are going to be a disadvantage of you in a moment. So can you do that? Can you pull your bow back when you sprint and have that opportunity in front of you? And most people cannot. They'll be so gassed that they won't be able to compose themselves. There'll be a lack of oxygen, so you can't think clearly. And that's a big deal when you want to have a good shot placement. If you can't think clearly, don't expect there to be a good shot placement. So, and that kind of ties back to, like, say, military special operations and a sniper, right? Like you do, maybe you have to move and maybe you have to set up again and you have to calm yourself down and you have to execute a shot. And so it's a really good methodology, but it does suck. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it does suck. But and before balance is something that I have really learned over, and it's embarrassing how long it took me to learn balance and training and just being healthy and active. Before I get into that, let me just kind of share my story. I grew up an athlete. I grew up playing every sport you could play. My high school career, my uncle is a legendary cross-country coach in the state of Arkansas. Mm-hmm. I hate cardio. I just shared that. I hate running. Running is for the devil, dude. But with your uncle being like literally Hall of Fame level coach in cross-country, you kind of had to. Like, it was like, okay, well, uncle, as the coach, all my cousins do it. I've got to do it. And so I was running cross-country in high school. I was playing basketball. I was very active and very healthy all throughout my life. Well, then I get to college and that just tanks, dude. I attended a small Bible college, very, 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 very interactive with, it's a campus of 300 people. And, we're all Christians and we're not going out partying and drinking. So our parties consisted of playing cards and eating Taco Bell. Like, that's what it looked like. And so I just gained a lot of weight going into college. Not only that, I got married really young. We got married during our second year of college. So, I was getting married at 20 years old. So I was gaining the freshman 15. I was gaining the now married 15. So it was all just packing on. So fast forward, I moved to Kansas with my wife. Grew up, born and raised in Arkansas. I moved to Kansas with my wife, where even that, packed onto that just negative lifestyle. Because in Arkansas, I grew up in the mountains and the hills, kayaking, rock climbing, mountain biking, just staying active and fit outdoors. Well, you get to Kansas, Kansas sucks, dude. Like there's nothing to do in Kansas. Like if you want to go out and hike, it's in a wheat field, that's it. There's no, whitewater rafting or mountain biking or there's none of that just because it's flat wheat ground. And so that kind of just compiled onto that unhealthy lifestyle. And so I remember I was getting ready for my first out Western hunt. I was going to Idaho to hunt bears with the guys from SNS Archery. And I was just kind of sharing with them about all this. And I'm like, I better start training for this. Like, I better get ready for this. And it was one of those deals, Weston, where you didn't know how bad you had gotten, because you still thought like, oh yeah, dude, I'm an athlete. Like and I step on the scale and I'm only 5'9". I mean, we've met, we're about the same height. And I get on the scale and I weighed 222 pounds, not in a good way. And I was like, oh my gosh, like what has happened? And like, even looking back at pictures now, I'm like, I never knew I got that bad. Like it was never a deal where I looked in the mirror and I'm like, man, I'm gaining a lot of weight. I don't know. And so I did what I know to do. I'm like, I'm going to go to the gym and I'm going to bust my butt. And so I started training for that hunt. Actually I used a Mountain. I didn't know it at the time. It was like a printout sheet of a program for Mountain Tough. And so that's what I used. And I crushed it in the gym. And so in like 4 months, I got down to 180 ready for that hunt. Lost like 40 pounds, 42 pounds. And so I got ready for that hunt and went and hunted and still, didn't do well. Still was just like the elevation killed me. You go from 1,200 feet to 8,000 feet and the elevation killed me. And so I left that hunt just thinking like, okay, I still got a lot of work to do. Like I've got a ton of work to do. And so still just kept training really hard, losing weight, building muscle, getting active, getting fit. But then the unbalance really started to happen. And this is all part of the story of why I want to do this. So hang in there with me. Then the unbalance really started happening because my brother and my friends, I shared with you that I became good friends with Joey Zatmary, who's a national champion strongman. So all these guys that I was working out with and training with were strict strength athletes. They could care less about cardio. They could care less about any kind of conditioning. It was, I want to move as much weight as possible. And so I fell into that. And not that that's a bad thing. That's how I still like to train. I like to just lift heavy weights and move heavy weights. But I was chasing a 500-pound deadlift so I was gaining weight because I was trying to just strength train. And I did that for a long time. And just strength train. Well, then I went on an elk hunt 2 years back after I had lived this life of like strength training. And I was a pretty muscular guy. I was pretty big and beefy and strong. Well, I realized when you're on the mountain, that's not necessarily the best thing to be. 2 reasons. My conditioning had sucked. I was part of the no cardio crew for 2 years. My conditioning sucked, but also muscle takes more oxygen than fat, than anything else. So the more muscle you pack on, the more oxygen that your body is pulling. So when you get to higher elevation, it just kicked my butt, man. And so I got back from that hunt and just realized, man, there has to be some balance here. So started incorporating more conditioning, more cardio. But then I'm still strength training on the side, not on the side, but then I'm still strength training in a way that is to build as much strength as possible. Well, then I realized I just started adding in all these things that, okay, I've got to start doing this. Like if I want to succeed, I've got to start focusing on mobility. I've got to start focusing on flexibility. Like I've got to start focusing on X, Y, and Z. And so that's what I want this program to be. I want this program, not this program. That's what I want this series to be. Not one specific program, do this and you're going to change your life. Not one specific way of life, do this and it's going to change your life. I want this to focus on balance. So 1 month we might focus on a program with Weston and walking you through how to run this program. 1 month we might be joined with Preston Ward from Mountain Physio to talk about, rehabbing an injury. rehabbing an injury on the mountain. You know, if you roll your ankle on the mountain, what are some things you can do? But we might talk about, you know, supplementation. We might be joined, you know, by somebody to talk about supplementation. We might be talking about mobility. That's something you guys actually, can you tell us about? Because you guys just started a new daily program for mobility, which has been life-changing. I started doing it every day. It's incredible. I start my morning with it. Can you walk me through that mobility program? Because that's something that, and again, I want to do a whole episode on mobility, but that is something I'm really excited about.
I'll get Nick Bechtold to do an episode on mobility with you too, because he's the coach for that mobility series. It's a daily product. I'll speak for myself as a guy, not so diligent about it. But when you do talk to those individuals who are older and do have that longevity, mobility is a big component of that. So for them to be able to move like they are, they do tend to stay limber, in my experience with those types of individuals too. And that's like that longevity piece. But for us, it's like, hey, can we put something in front of you so that you can just press play and follow along and do that? It's not going to take very much of your time. Like my limit on my phone for Instagram is 30 minutes every day. And I hit 30 minutes every day on Instagram. I'm like, I could do 3 mobility sessions. Essentially in that time that I'm like, I mean, I say like some of my job revolves around Instagram, but no, I get sucked into the vortex. So what a better way to spend, like just press play and then follow along, get coached through it, and then go reap those rewards throughout the rest of your day. So the thing is, Dylan, with your story and how you've gotten to where you've gotten, you have this background and this history in sport, and you have this in your like family DNA that you have these individuals. Not everybody has that sort of emphasis on fitness and sport through sport in their lives. And so where do they start? And you're able to take all of these different disciplines and apply them now to hunting. And that's a beautiful thing to be able to do. And there are a subset of us who have that ability, or we have had those opportunities to learn these different styles and then apply them to our hunting. But there's a whole bunch of individuals that are like, where do I start? Let's say you're getting into hunting later on and in life, and you never had this opportunity before. Use our experiences. Listen to this podcast and use our experiences to help further your experience out in the outdoors. I mean, it's an awesome opportunity. We have the resources now. And yes, you can go to YouTube and you can search all of that. But when you hear it from a person that's actually experienced all these different disciplines, I have the cardio discipline, I have the strength discipline. Now I'm blending them together, and that's my style. For us, even at Mountain Tough, we're like, we'll just give you that. We'll give you this style and we'll set you up for success. And then you'll be able to go and flourish. You'll actually be able to do that faster than what, like for me and for you, how many years was that? It's so many years of dabbling in this discipline and that discipline that ultimately get you to the conclusion you're at now. And so we're able to just provide you that. So that's the beauty of podcasts, and that's the beauty of programming, all of it when it comes down to it. So the mobility piece, that's the long answer to the mobility question. But it's like, here, you don't even have to think about it. Just press play. And then pretty soon you'll memorize them, and you'll be doing them when you're on vacation, because you're like, oh, I've done these movements before. So I'm just going to wake up in the morning and I'm going to do them because I've committed them to memory now. So,
and that's what's so cool about Mountain Tough, because wherever you're at, you can do the programs. You know, I was on a cruise ship a week and a half ago, and I set my phone up in the corner and did a mobility workout that morning with the app. But at the same time, I don't have to, if I'm at home in the gym, I don't have to do it on a little bitty phone. If I've got a smart TV, I throw it up on the smart TV. You know, it's big on the wall. I can see it. I can hear it. You know, I don't have to have little headphones in to try. I mean, it's just so cool that I can do it anywhere and everywhere. It's so efficient. It's so easy to use. And that's why, you know, I truly believe in Mountain Tough. I truly believe that if you'll do it, it'll change your life. It'll change everything about who you are, not just as a hunter. Because we could dive a whole lot further into all of this, but the Bible specifically says, and I know I can say this and not offend anybody with Mountain Tough being Christian owned. The Bible says that physical exercise profit a man little. And you hear a bunch of your old fat redneck preachers use that as an excuse not to work out. They're like, well, it barely profits you. But I've come to the conclusion, I'm like, yeah, but it does profit you. Like the Bible is telling me that physical activities profits me. And I started thinking about why. Like I've started considering the why behind that. And I'm like, well, it makes me a better father. Because I can go out and I can jump on the trampoline with my kids. It makes me a better husband. Because now when my wife says, hey, let's go shopping, I don't have to sit down and take a break. It makes me a better husband because we can go on family walks with our kids together and we can stay active and healthy. And if my son wants to go out and hit baseballs in the yard, it's not, give me a minute, son, I'm tired. Like, I mean, it makes you it makes you a better husband and father. It also, you've only got one of these bodies that, I mean, you don't get any restarts or redos. And if you don't take care of it, you lose it. Like you're one and done, man. You've got one chance here. And I think about that a lot because I'm like, man, when I'm 60, I want to be able to play with my grandkids. Like, I don't want to have to, I don't want to, I just want to take care of the one body that God gave me. And when I'm 60, man, I want to play with my grandkids. I want to be hunting with my grandkids. I want to be the granddad that, is taking their grandson on an elk hunt, not that I can't make it up the mountains anymore, but that I'm still going out with my grandkids. Like, and man, I also bought into that lie of like, well, I'm a whitetail hunter, dude. There's no point in training. Yeah, but it can't hurt. Like it doesn't hurt anything. Like, yes, dude, I grew up in Southern Arkansas, like hunting deer at beer camp, like where these fat old men sat around all night drinking and smoking and then went out and killed deer. Like I've seen it. Yes, you can do that. However, is it going to hurt anything if I get to my tree stand a little bit faster? Is it going to hurt anything if I get to my tree stand a little bit less sweaty? Is it going to hurt anything if I don't have to stop every 5 minutes when I'm dragging a deer out? Like none of those things hurt. So like, well, yes, you don't have to be Cameron Haynes to go shoot whitetails. I get that.
Right.
But it can't hurt. You know what I mean?
Totally. It's so true. And I mean, I'm out west. I got into whitetail hunting through my father-in-law. He's from Michigan, big time whitetail guy. He's so active too. Like he's, constantly thinking about whitetails. And so as soon as the weather breaks, it's like getting stuff prepped for whitetail hunting and setting stands in August.
Oh yeah.
Like in the humidity of Michigan. Holy smokes. You want to talk about sweating? Like that's the real deal. Like that's physical exertion. And people don't give enough credit to that whitetail hunt, that, Midwest Eastern whitetail hunter. Like they are hardcore. And this is my opinion too, and take it for what it's worth. It's my opinion, but I was like, whitetail hunters have the mental fortitude to go sit in those tree stands and be patient and wait. And a lot of Western hunters don't have that patience. And so how do you build that patience? So I'll give whitetail hunters all the credit in the world for being those like pinnacle hunters. They're the ones that are successful. Like Native Americans, you'll read about it and it's like the person who walks all day comes home empty-handed, and the person who sits and waits and is patient is the one that provides for their entire tribe. Like those are whitetail hunters when I think of it. And yes, they do get a bit of a bad rap for sitting around and drinking beer and doing all that stuff, which is the community piece. But when you let your physical fitness slip, you're letting a little bit of that mental side slip too. So to stay sharp mentally as a whitetail hunter, I think is probably like one of the biggest things through fitness that you can gain. And to take it all the way back, Dylan, too, it's like those whitetail hunters too. You think like Midwest hardcore, I put them up against anybody out there when it comes to determination and grit and all of that. But there is a tendency for any individual, regardless of where they live, once they start slipping a little bit, it's a little bit more and a little bit more. And if you have kids and your kids are like, Dad, I'm gonna call the guys out right now. Dad, come jump on the tramp with me. Come jump on the tramp with me. And you don't go do that as a dad, that is a downfall. And as a man, you need to go jump on the trampoline with your kids when they're like, come and jump on the trampoline with me, Dad. And if fitness is stopping you, change it. Change your fitness.
Yes.
You sent me the video the other day and you did a backflip on the trampoline. And I'm like, yes, that's what I'm talking about. Your kids need to see dad doing backflips on the trampoline, because that will pay dividends in their life. They're like, Dad is doing that, I'm going to do that. And then they go and flourish. And so take that into every aspect of life. And fitness is just one of those. It's like, you are your best investment. Like literally, you can spend your money on all kinds of investments and whatever, and see the reward of that. And then sometimes lose it all, but literally invest in yourself, because yes, you may profit little, but profit isn't the point when it comes down to. Like, profit isn't what I'm not looking to bank up a whole bunch of this, but I'm going to do my best right now with what I'm given. And so I think that's probably like one of the biggest things. I can go on a tangent about that because I love that in it. And even like when it comes to mobility and somebody who's fit, you're not doing the mobility portion and your back hurts and your kids are like, come jump on the trampoline, and you don't want to because your back hurts. I'm like, go do some mobility, go to a PT. There's so many resources out there for you to be able to go and flourish and fix those problems. And that's in our control as an individual. So, yeah.
Well, not only that, but, you hear, and I'm not going to name any names, but you hear some really incredible, like, they're incredibly fit. They're incredibly active mountain athletes, mountain hunters. And then, they talk about living off of Tylenol PM, just to get a good night's sleep on the mountain. And I'm like, man, if your knees are that bad, like, yeah, you're training and you're working out and you're staying active and fit, but then your knees are so bad that all of that work you've done goes out the window. Like, so again, and, throughout this series and, every month when we put out one of these Train Wild specials, you'll learn more about me. You'll learn more about my lifestyle and what I do. I try not to, and this is still, again, probably the bad balance in me, but with that strength background, I don't like to combine strength training and cardio. My morning is cardio, my afternoons are lifting. And then, I'll do, again, you'll learn more about me throughout this series, about when I do the mobility, when I stretch, when I sauna, when I, what time I take supplement. You'll learn all that stuff about me throughout this. But I've just learned that creating that lifestyle gives you so much mental fortitude, like so much mental grit that, when you're on the mountain and you look up and it's like, man, I don't know if I can make it to that next ridge. Shut up. Yes, you can. Like you've taught your body, you can go further and do more than you thought. And, totally. Last week on the podcast, I had on Trent Murphy, defensive end for the Buffalo Bills. And it was crazy to hear somebody. Awesome. He is. Yeah. It was crazy to hear somebody talk about how hunting pushes him to be better in the gym. He's like, when the training sucks, I'm like, wait a minute, you can sit in a tree stand for 15 hours, but you can't do this next set. Like, and then vice versa. You can do that next set, but you can't sit here for another hour in the cold. Like they push each other so much, man. And so I'm just so excited. And again, I believe so much in Mountain Tough. Guys, I want you to download the app. You get a free trial, try it out for free. I promise you won't be disappointed. Yeah. And then you can use code TrainWild30. That's the code, right?
That's correct.
TrainWild30.
TrainWild30.
And that's going to get you 30% off. a year subscription to an app that will change your life forever. An app that will change your hunting, an app that will change your marriage, your children, your relationship with your children. It'll change everything. And so I would highly encourage you, download the app, try it out for free, use TrainWild30, get 30% off an annual subscription. It'll be well worth it. You won't be disappointed. I'll tell you what, I'll make a promise, Weston. If somebody downloads the app and they pay for it and they use the code and don't like it, send me an email and I'll reimburse you your money. Because I don't know how anybody can download that and start changing their life, start feeling better, start being more mobile, start being more active, start liking the way you look better, start having people go, dang, dude, you're looking good. Like, there's nothing about it where you're going to go, yes, it's not worth it for me. So if you download it and you hate it, send me an email. I'll reimburse you your money. Weston, we are to celebrate this series, to celebrate Train Wild finally kicking off. So guys, make sure to come back here every single month where we do a Train Wild special. Again, we might be talking about programming one time. We might be talking about stretching, mobility, diet. We might be talking about the benefits of ice baths or the benefits of saunas, or we might be covering something about living a happy, healthy lifestyle. But come back every month for our monthly Train Wild special. But to kick off this series, to celebrate the kicking off of the series, Mountain Tough, myself, and Bear have teamed up, and we're going to give away a fully guided, paid-for elk hunt. We're going to pay for your guide. We're going to pay for your tags and your licenses. Bear's going to give you a free bow completely set up and ready to rock and roll. I'm going to build you a dozen arrows for that new bow. Weston's going to throw in a lifetime membership, not a year membership, a lifetime membership to Mountain Tough, some Mountain Tough swag, because if you want to look cool, you wear that brand right there because it just makes you look cool and feel cool. I was walking to the airport the other day and I saw somebody wearing some Mountain Tough swag, and I was like, yeah, dude, you're not going to miss your flight because you'll run to it. So that's what I'm so excited. So guys, that giveaway launched today. So we will put the link in the description if you want to enter. It's completely free. There's absolutely no purchase necessary. You can click the link in the description of this episode and get entered to win. Also, something exciting that Bear is doing. If you're going to one of the Total Archery challenges, go to the Bear booth and they're going to do the Train Wild Shot Challenge. So basically, what do they have to do, Weston? You're the evil mastermind that thought of what they had to do.
So it's physical exertion followed by the shot. So that's going to be, I believe too. I say these things. I'm like, well, let's do crazy things, burpees or weighted step ups, and then into a bow shoot, I believe is what we're going to do. So
yeah,
there'll be a component of that bull 50 yards up over the rise. He's bugling. You've got a moment. Yep. Can you go and settle in and execute the shot? So
if you're going to any of the Total Archery challenges, go to the Bear booth, and that's going to get you extra entries. I should have said that before. You can enter on the website completely free. If you're not going to Total Archery Challenge, don't worry. You can still get entered. But if you stop by a Total Archery Challenge and you go to the Bear booth and you compete in the Train Wild Shot Challenge and you make the shot, then you'll get extra entries in the giveaway. I'm going to be at the very first Total Archery Challenge. I'm going to be at the one in Oklahoma here in just 2 weeks, I guess now. So come by the booth. I'll be cheering you on. I'll be rooting for you to make the shot. We're going to have a good time. Guys, I don't need to tell you about the Blazer Vane. You're probably familiar with the Blazer Vane, and you're probably familiar with Boning. Boning has been around forever. It's a name you can trust. They sell products you can trust. They have everything that you need to build your own arrows. All of the jigs to fletch your own arrows, all of the vanes, all of the wraps, the numerous types of vanes and wraps to build any kind of configuration you want. They also have some really cool Fredbear branded products with their Fredbear camo wraps and their Fredbear flannel wraps. Something that's really cool about that Fredbear flannel, that's actually a photo that was taken of one of Fredbear's flannel famous shirts, the red and gray and black that he always wore. That's actually a photo taken of his personal shirt. and put on a wrap. It looks really cool, especially on some traditional arrows. But my very favorite configuration, and this is coming from an arrow junkie that's tried out all different kind of vanes and all different kind of configurations. I have found that this configuration stabilizes pretty much every arrow. It's whisper quiet. They fly fantastic. The 3-inch Bronco vane in a 4-fletch absolutely flies like a dart, whether you're shooting mechanicals or big fixed. This is going to be a fletching configuration that will work. Again, whisper quiet, long range accuracy. I love this configuration. This is on every single one of my compound arrows. They just work. Guys, I would highly encourage you to check out Boning, not just for the Blazer vane, but for the Heat vane, for the Broncos, for the X vanes. Everything that you need to build your own arrows is right there on Boning's website. They've been around for ages, and I promise you, if you order from them, you're going to get products that you can trust. Guys, I'm just so excited about this series. Living a happy, healthy lifestyle, something that's so important to me and my family. My son trains with me all the time. If you follow me on Instagram, you see my son out in the gym just crushing it. It's so important to me and my family. My wife is like a crackhead on her little bike, on her Peloton. She never misses a day. Like, I've seen her down there with the flu and she's like coughing up a lung and she's dying, but she's still just pedaling away. She's still just pedaling away. It's important to me and my family. It's an important part of my life. It has changed the way I hunt, it's changed the way I live. And I'm so excited to just share some of that stuff with you guys. So come back here every month, Train Wild, a monthly special on the podcast brought to you and presented by Mountain Tough. I'm so excited about it. Guys, if you have any questions, like if you have anything that you would like to hear covered, maybe you have an injury, maybe you struggle with bad knees and you want somebody to talk about, how to rehab those knees so you can elk hunt this fall, whatever it is. If you have any questions about how to train, how to eat, send me those questions, email me those questions, and we'll cover it on an episode for you. Because if you're asking it, chances are somebody else probably is too. So I'm so excited about this series, guys. I hope my main goal for this is to just teach you how to live a happier, healthy lifestyle and to teach you how to hunt well into your 80s, because this is what we love to do. This is part of who we are. I don't want to have to stop because my shoulders are bad, my knees are bad. I want to be able to do this the rest of my life. So guys, I'm so excited about this. Thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure and go try out Mountain Tough, free trial, and then Train Wild 30 for 30% off your annual subscription. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Y'all have a fantastic week.
Yeah. Thanks, Dylan. Thanks, everybody.